Yo, what's up, guys? Kevin here. Welcome to the Snowboard Pro Camp podcast. The very first one here with Chris Ayers.
What's up, guys?
Andreas Schubert.
Hi.
And TJ Kern.
Hey, everybody.
And TJ has just moved here to Whistler recently.
Woo!
I did, yeah. Just been here just a couple of weeks. Locked down the place for the season just today, actually. So pretty excited about it.
Signed the lease today.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cutthroat up here.
Yeah, how was that moving here process? Because I know housing is definitely an issue, but...
Yeah, you kind of warned me a little bit when you were visiting Colorado this summer, and I didn't really believe you because it's kind of bad in Colorado, but it's the worst housing crisis I've ever seen. So, yeah, and October, November is a terrible time to move here as well because that's when everyone wants to
Everybody's showing up, yeah.
So, yeah, my experience was like there's a really good Facebook group. Craigslist is the most popular, and I was checking literally 10 times a day to try to be the first person. And I was finding maybe 2 or 3 listings a day, and there's 100 people looking, so it's rough out there.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow!
I heard this crazy story once where this person basically it was so bad. I think it was a couple of years back. This person had an extra room, and what they did was they invited 25 people over, and gets them all to line up in the living room, and he's like, "Well, there's only one room. Impress me." And all these people all of a sudden were just well, I can do your dishes. I'll cook. Well, I can do your laundry. It was hilarious, but also terrible.
That is terrible.
Yes.
That is terrible.
Yeah, I remember my first season here, going to look at a place, and there was 2 bunk beds set up in a loft, and there was another room with bunk beds, and it was just the landlord basically told me, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to get 17 people in this house." And I was like, okay, cross this one off the list. And
was it in the village at least?
No, it was out in Alpine, where you live, Chris, and it was just a kind of an older house.
Don't tell people about that. I'm subletting out my basement. Yeah, 48 people. The worst one I heard was 6 bunk beds in one room. 12 girls. Wow.
That's like a hostel straight up.
Yeah.
But the crazy part is too, it's not like there's 12 girls in one room, but they're also each paying $600-$700 each.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my little cousin last year, she paid $800 to sleep on a ledge.
Really?
A ledge above a laundry room, and it was maybe the size of a single bed.
Damn.
It was pretty hilarious.
Wow.
She got access to the rest of the house. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But still very small little sort of hey, here's a shelf you can kind of sleep on. Worst comes to worst, right? And it was sort of she couldn't find anything else.
You always know when your laundry's done, though.
Yeah, really.
Right there. So
I saw something like that. It was $750 for a loft that was it was angled down, so the bed was kind of right in there, no space for $750.
Wow.
You didn't get the rest of the house, but.
there's a guy as well that was renting out his bed because he was working the night shift, and he wanted someone else that was working in a day shift, and they'd have 12 hours each on the bed, and they just switch.
Oh
wow.
my god!
Oh my god, that's so intense.
You'd hope maybe you could flip it or something.
Hey
but
man,
anyway,
could you sleep on the right hand side, please?
The mattress turns with a clock.
That would just be acceptable.
Yeah.
But otherwise.
Well, I
No.
I remember one of my first seasons, Chris, staying with you, and I was sleeping on the couch for a month, and then I snuck a mattress in beside the kitchen.
Yep.
And I would fold it up during the day, and it would just come down at night. And
that was pretty tight in there.
It was tight, but I feel that's ideal for Whistler. The first season is to maybe have.
Yeah, man, you're gonna look back at that. It's gonna be the best time of your life, man. You'd be like, "Oh man, I was so poor, but I slept on that mattress, and it was awesome."
It took 7 minutes to walk to the gondola,
and my friend Chris was there.
Yeah, our company would come over. They'd look at the mattress, and they'd just be like, "What is happening in here?"
That's my bedroom.
Yeah. But yeah, TJ, how's the vibe so far? The approach to winter here in Whistler?
Yeah, it's been kind of rainy, so that's been a little bit of a bummer. I feel like people aren't getting out and about as much, but on the sunny days it's been great. Even on the rainy days, sometimes you'll see people still getting after it, bringing their bikes out, still doing all the activities, and then when the sun comes out, everyone's just outside. So that's pretty cool to see. It's been
Very
good.
first day that it snowed last week, a dude came in and he's like, I'm going up to lot 8, collecting what I can and making a jump. So
really?
It was like super hyped already, and that was like just our first snowfall.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, let's get some rocks in that snow for sure.
Yeah, well, rockboard season
That's
it
true.
is.
That's true.
Get your rockboard out.
Yeah. The anticipation is real. Once that first couple of snowfalls come and you start to see like new faces in town, it's a cool vibe.
It's definitely a great vibe in Whistler because like one of the things that I noticed when I first came here, and one of the things that I think my cousin who's new to town also first noticed, is everybody's on the same page. Everybody's really stoked to be here, and everybody already gets the sense that like, you're probably outdoorsy, you're probably into skiing or snowboarding, and because of that, you're already cool to a certain degree, and so people are really friendly and more than willing to talk and share experiences because they know that you're here for like a similar purpose.
For sure.
They're like, oh, you escaped wherever you came from and you made it to Whistler, right? So
Yeah, that first season is intense. Chris, you've probably been here the longest, right? Like your first season was like back in 2000 or something.
Yeah, it was like 17 years ago.
Holy.
Wow.
Between high school and uni.
Why did you come out here? What was like the draw? What was the first thing?
Oh, well,
You came the
I was
furthest
following-
distance too.
I think like my story with snowboarding actually, because I was thinking about this before about why I started snowboarding, and it was because of my brothers, because they're older and they're snowboarding, and I was watching them like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
And so they were both living in Whistler as well, and I had just finished high school, and I was like, oh man, what do I do? Got
Looking
both
up
my
to them.
brothers living out in Whistler, snowboarding, so yeah, it wasn't too hard a decision. I just moved out, got a job at the mountain, moved up into the staff housing up there. It was nice and cozy. Again, it was like a walk-in closet with a bunk bed.
Yeah.
And me and a Scottish guy.
Yeah.
We got pretty cozy with each other.
Nice.
And I'm happy never to do that again.
And you had a
sure,
Scottish
for
accent afterwards.
A little bit.
Some words. That's sick.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I guess my first season out here too, that's when I met your brother Dave, oldest brother. We became friends and then became friends with your brother Neil.
Yep.
And then I guess once you were done uni, that's when
I came out.
this
Yeah.
everyone was here for a short time.
We got to meet the long way around through
Yeah.
all the other heirs.
Definitely.
So you got the brothers before you get this again. The brothers coming into it.
Yeah.
They were the keymaster and the kind of
Keyhole.
Andreas, what was so when was your first season?
I think I came out here the 2012-2013 season.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You missed the Olympics.
Yeah, no, it sucks. I totally would have loved to have been here for that.
Yeah.
The first season that I came out, I basically, I've always been working in the ski and snowboard industry, and I was working at a shop back in Ontario. And on my days off, I would drive 2 hours to the mountain and then, ride for 4 hours or whatever, and then drive 2 hours back, and I would do that twice a week. So doing that twice a week was 8 hours of driving, and at the end of the season, I was sort of like, man, where'd all my money go, I should have, way more savings. And it turned out, all my money was going into gas to get back and forth from, where my local hill was. So it was 2 hours there, 2 hours back, twice a week, 8 hours of driving.
Lots of pepperoni sticks.
Yeah, and basically, at the end of it, I think it was sort of I think it worked out to almost $3,000 of gas, throughout the whole winter. And I was like, I could have bought a pass at Whist for that, or, less, right? So
right.
I should just move out to Whist, and, then I could go snowboarding every day, and that's pretty much what I did. And now I snowboard 100 times a season instead of 45 times a season, so.
Wow.
It's a really logical approach.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you got to chase what you love, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
I remember my home mountain in Ontario, and somebody telling me that Whistler was as if I was going from my home mountain driving home. That was the distance of the top to bottom run on Whistler. And I was
Right.
like, it can't be like that, because I'd be driving it's a half an hour drive. It probably isn't the same distance, but I know the longest run on Blackcomb is 18 kilometers.
Yeah, so
That's really long.
if you
Dang.
take the long way home kind of thing,
Yeah.
down the hill.
So it's crazy. Basically, yeah, to be able to be at the base of a mountain like this and just have it in your backyard.
Oh, it's so convenient.
Yeah, it's pretty
For
sure.
sure.
You get spoiled.
You do.
It's like, oh yeah, this is the norm. We have like an awesome mountain so close.
Yeah, it's the mecca of snowboarding, really. Whistler Blackcomb, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. So if you love snowboarding, let's make all those sacrifices to get out here. And yeah, the hardest part is just like finding accommodation, but you keep at it and you'll be lucky, like this guy here.
Yeah, I feel like I legit got lucky for sure.
It's a
huge relief.
I was telling TJ because he was asking. He's like, "Hey man, do you know anybody in Whistler? Like anybody that has a room or anything?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'll keep my ears open for you," kind of thing, right? Like I'll tell anybody that I meet. And I was telling him that this guy put out this video last year on Facebook that was so hilarious. That was basically like this video about like why you should have me as your housemate. And this guy was like, like not singing and dancing, but he was like super eccentric and super excited, and he was going on and on about how like same kind of thing, like I can help you do the laundry and do the dishes, and I can help you cook, and I'm a great friend, and like you'd love skiing with me, right? It was like
I can sing show tunes.
Yeah, it was this total promo video for himself, and like I remember all the comments were people saying like, somebody get this guy a room, like this guy's got to get a room.
Yeah.
Keep it
like he's trying so hard.
That's hilarious.
Oh man, yeah, I could not do that. That's too much.
No, I know, me neither. I think that'd be really hard to like sell yourself that way, because people would be like, "Hey, look at this guy." But I think for this particular case, it worked for him.
Yeah, good for him, man.
Yeah.
TJ, when you were out east too, you like went to school right near a small hill, right? So
yeah.
How did that happen? Did you like purposely go to that school because of the slope?
Yeah, that was actually the only college I applied to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was about 3 hours away from home, and so it wasn't too far from home. Still visit the family and stuff. And then so I'm from North Carolina. There's only 4 resorts in North Carolina. There was a little bit more earlier, but only 4 now. And 3 of them are all within 30 minutes of the campus. So it's kind of like, if you want to snowboard in North Carolina, that was the spot. And the hill was only like 15 minutes from campus, the closest one. So I would go like in between classes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, be getting like 70, 80 days a year out there. But it was like a skate park, it's really small, like season December to March kind of deal.
But that's why you're good at park, right? Like
I grew up, that was the first time I got a season pass too. So when I really started riding a lot, it was like all park, rails too. There was like no jumps.
Did you have a lot of like friends and stuff that you met from class that would join you on this kind of stuff, or?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have like similar experiences, but like I've met my best friends through snowboarding. So one of my best friends still to this day, I joined the snowboard team my first year, and I was wearing the jacket, and I was getting on the chairlift. I was just snowboarding by myself, and he came up and he was like, "Hey, you on the snowboard team?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then we just started riding together.
You know what we have in common? Snowboarding.
To be friends. So it's pretty cool how that falls together like that.
And that's how we got connected too, was through Garrett, who was going to that school as well.
Right. Yep.
And the reason that Garrett went to that school as well is because it was 10 minutes from a ski hill.
Yep.
So
yeah, Garrett coming all the way from Atlanta.
Did they have night riding?
They did. Yeah, we actually had night riding until midnight.
That's my favorite.
Oh, wow.
Is just going out for some night sessions and chilling with the boys on the hill and hanging out.
Yeah.
It gets icy out there on the east at night, though. It's gnarly.
Oh yeah, you need your magnet traction.
Yep. Yeah, straight up.
That was before that though.
I did not have it back then.
Yeah, what year did Magnet Traction come out? That was like 2007, 2008 maybe?
Yeah, I think it was like they were using it slightly before the whole rocker phenomenon started, but it wasn't
really?
It wasn't like as prevalent as it became, because now there's so many brands that are, utilizing a magnet traction type idea, right?
Was it pre-Skate Banana?
I think so. I'm not
right.
100% sure though. LibTech likes to claim a lot of crazy things, like they invented,
Sunshine.
We invented the rocket snowboard and that kind of stuff.
Right.
I don't know if all of it's true, but
magnet traction was like way more aggressive back then when it first came out too, right?
Well, they have different levels of it, and it was the aggressive mag or whatever, 7-point. I think.
So that was still the same one, you think? Or they mellowed it out?
Now they do like a 3.5 and like a few other ones.
Right.
And then there's all these other brands that have like versions of it. Like Yes has underbite and overbite, and Burton has frostbite edges, and they're not exactly the same, but it's similar mentalities.
Crazy.
Similar technology.
And Chris, how did you get into snowboarding from being in England? I know there's some like Europe stories of family trips.
Yep. We used to jump in the back of my dad's car.
Yeah, station wagon.
Yep. And it would usually work out because there's 6 of us, 2 older brothers and a younger sister, and I'd get basically like the bottom rung because I had 2 older brothers, so they're bigger than me, and then the younger sister, you know, gotta look after her.
Yeah.
So it'd be like my mom and dad in the front, 3 siblings in the middle, and then me in the back with like 18 suitcases. And like no joke, like I had 0 visual contact with my family the entire time.
Don't crash.
I had like
Just
bags,
don't crash.
like,
You'll kill me.
all around me. I'd have to like talk by like bouncing it off the back window and then like around.
In the dungeon.
Wow.
It was pretty brutal sometimes.
Maybe you'd be more safe because you have all those barriers around you, you know?
Yeah,
A car crash.
Yeah, it's like the Demolition Man foam. I'm like already surrounded by bags.
Where would you guys go? Like to France? Or?
France. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. We had a spot that we used to go to called Les Arcs, and there's a
Wow.
few different resorts there, but the main one we were at was at 1,800 meters, and it was really cool. I mean, I was pretty young, so I don't remember a huge amount. My favorite memory was actually riding toboggans down a green run. We went like, because the road lines up with the piste. And so as you're going up the road, you see like parts of the piece. And so I was like a 8-year-old with my 12-year-old brother. We rode down that. That was awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. My dad picked us up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, probably couldn't get away
Were
with
they
that
like
nowadays.
were they classic toboggans or were they like GT snow racers?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of in between. You had individual brakes, so
Well,
you could
that's at least
steer.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were all about the GT snow racers, man.
That's with the steering wheel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh well, they had different ones. They had ones with steering wheels, and then they had ones with like a more like a handlebar kind of thing. It depended on the year that you bought them.
Dang, guys are serious about the toboggans.
Oh man, well you know you want to control your toboggan. That's you know, that's what I think that's where like
feet.
that's where you go to snowboarding, right? Because with snowboarding you're like, oh, it's like an advanced version of tobogganing that I have more control over.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
You know, but like the toboggan is probably like the original snowboard because I'm sure somebody just stood up on it, right?
Yeah,
Like,
with the rope, holding on to the rope.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. Like that
That was
there you
me.
go.
I did that.
Yeah, and in 1604,
Yeah, exactly.
time traveling Chris,
With Prince Louis the 13th.
who loves snowboarding.
He did.
It's a royal family secret.
Facts.
Snowboarding and red wine.
Yeah.
Facts.
So
Facts.
how'd the family go from France to Whistler? Like, did you guys do a family trip to Whistler at one point?
Pretty much. Because I had my grandmother on my mom's side, my mother on my mom's side. It was living in Vancouver, and then her siblings were living in BC as well. So we'd come out here, but in the summer.
Okay.
We used to always be here in the summer. Knew the place in the summer. Never here in the winter. And then we came one year. I think I was about 15. It was like 20 years ago. And it was amazing. It was like totally different experience. I was like a 15-year-old, and having grown up in France, it's like dog eat dog world over there. There's like people like flying into the ski line like full speed, elbowing people out the way. People like snowshoeing over top of like kids, like hitting them in the head. And you get here, and then like everyone's waiting, and
they're polite.
yeah, like you know, if the kid falls over, you like help them to get up. You
Look,
don't like
ski
just
patrol.
you don't just elbow them out the way. And yeah, it was just amazing how polite that was the main thing. It's like it's such an enjoyable experience because you come into those lift lines in France, and I don't know, you just like get all tight, and you see people with their skis on your snowboard.
It's
Oh, yeah.
stressful.
And you're like
yeah.
scratching your snowboard, like.
I think there's
It's
no
stressful.
like, there's nothing that
Sure.
makes you more like angry than somebody butting in front of you in line too.
Yeah.
Just like
Oh.
blatantly, when somebody blatantly does it.
Oh yeah.
Unless
That's-
it's a powder
Some
line,
people
they
speak
butt
out.
in front of you on a powder
If
line.
it's a powder day,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Might
there's
get in a
really
fight,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The etiquette all changes on a powder day.
Yep, no friends on a
Definitely.
powder
No
day.
friends on a powder day.
If
Yeah.
you guys don't know the no friends on a powder day, the whole idea is that like you get up, like you have a meeting, but if you're a minute late, you're left behind. Like you have to be there, you have to be ready to go, and yeah, you just don't wait around for anybody.
First
That's
chair.
right.
Powder
First
comes
chair.
first.
Yep.
And then sometimes if you're trying to cut, you might get belted in the back of the head with a snowball.
Yeah,
Yeah, because that's what I see happens here. Is like people try to get up into like maybe they're with a lesson, trying to go through the lesson line, and then people can get pretty upset about
Start
that.
throwing
On
snowballs.
that
Yeah,
lineup
snowball
to Spankies.
fights.
There's a snowball fights.
Oh man, the lineup to Spankies. Yeah, that's a
Oh, the Spankies line,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's like a single track hike.
Yeah. You want to explain the Spankies hike? Why we have it?
Well, it's basically you have to hike up through this like narrow little passage that gets up into where Spanky's ladder is, and
Which is like crazy, awesome powder.
yeah,
alpine.
very nice higher alpine powder, very steep, which is good for speed. And you get up there, and basically everybody hikes at a different pace, and so there's like a long line of people that are hiking up into Spanky's
Or waiting for it to open.
or waiting. Yeah,
And then
exactly.
people cutting in.
But normally there'll be like a line of like say 100 people all waiting to go up, waiting for it to open.
Yeah.
And then once it opens, all of a sudden there's
It's
like
a
a
scramble.
second and a third line get created.
Yeah.
And so the person maybe that's waiting who's been number 80 gets snaked by 20 or 30 people.
Mm.
And then there's also like people are waiting to take turns to drop in because in certain places it's kind of tight up there.
Yeah.
And so people are like, hey, what the heck? You know, it's like that's where I was supposed to be going, and somebody like barrels in right at the last second, and
Yeah.
you know it kind of gets into who's more talented and who has more skill, and obviously you want to let that person that's really savvy go ahead because.
No.
No, never mind.
If I was there
Wrong.
first.
No, if you're there
How
first.
am I going to get to that level if he's always writing the good lines?
No, I guess, but like if he's like, if you're falling around in front and like everyone has to wait for you, then you probably
Yeah.
shouldn't have been up there in the
That's
first
true.
place,
No,
kind of thing.
no,
you
there's-
know?
there's a
I feel like
line.
that's pretty
There's a
rare.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want to be a jerk, so
Too late.
wait your turn.
For sure.
We're very polite here in Canada and
Oh,
Whistler.
yes.
If you guys didn't
Very.
know.
Yeah,
But
you
now
gotta-
TJ's here.
TJ's
so.
just learning.
But
Learning the
Terry's-
ropes.
I was hassling my cousin because he rides the bus, and I'm like, if you're riding the bus, you have to say thank you to the bus driver when you leave, and like
Of
you
course.
better make sure you do it because if I hear that you're not, then that's going to be bad for, bad for business. Like you want everybody to,
Have
you
you,
want to be
have
chill.
you send out your
That's pretty
crows
common
around the
courtesy.
village to look on your cousin? Keep an eye on him on the bus.
No, you got to adopt that like friendly culture, right? It's all about thanking the bus driver. They're great people.
I mean, you guys say thank you to like your taxi drivers and stuff too, right?
Yeah, why wouldn't you say thank you to
Sure.
the bus
Exactly.
driver?
Yeah. I mean, I
Secret
feel like,
handshakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Secret. We're actually homies.
Yeah.
It's hard driving those things too, especially in like the neighborhoods like Alpine when it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
super snowy and
I was in a near crash experience on the bus.
Yeah,
He-
I believe
he
it.
saved it like last minute. Like
Oh,
coming down a
man.
hill, he broke and we just started sliding towards a house. And I just seen this house just coming at us. We're not stopping. And the last minute, he let off the brake and turned the wheel. And we just started flying around. And I swear, like, we missed this Jeep by like less than an inch. I just seen it flashing across the windscreen.
Wow.
And then he drove us down at the bottom of the neighborhood and said, "Get out here." We were like, "But we were so close to our house."
That's sketchy.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was driving down Mountain View once and totally 360'd in my car, just like and like
Wow.
totally came back to like the original position like magic, and I was like, all right, keep going, we're good.
In the neighborhood
Yeah.
roads, those are
Yeah.
pretty narrow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like it was perfect. It was literally just the car spun 360, and yeah, good job, Ford Focus.
Andreas, I know that you have a good story of what brought you out to Whistler.
Yeah, man. Well, like Whistler was always sort of this like holy grail for me, where I wanted to come and like I wanted to move to Whistler, and it was this idea that I'd always had in high school. And
Where did this like idea first come from? Like, how did Whistler get onto your radar?
well, I had originally come out on vacation once before with my dad back in the day, kind of thing, when I was younger, and so I'd gotten a taste for it then. And I remember talking to a guy on the gondola, and like same kind of situation as someone like me now, where he was like, "Oh yeah, I live here and I just work at a shop, and I go snowboarding all the time." And I think my dad at the time was sort of like, "Wow, you could be that guy. Like imagine being that guy." And I was sort of like, "Yeah, I could be that guy." And yeah, sort of like I was in a weird place back in Ontario, especially because it was one of those things like I'd finished school and I was trying to figure out what to do with my life, and I wasn't necessarily like feeling fulfilled with my time. You know how people are like, the only thing that really exists or matters is time and what you do with that, because you can't buy more time really. unless maybe in the future would be able to. So I was always like, oh man, am I best utilizing my time or am I wasting my time? And don't get me wrong, I didn't mind the job that I had back in Ontario. I was working at a shop there as well, and I was going back and forth from the local hill. But it was sort of like a lot of my friends that I had from high school, they were still around, but they had sort of, you know, as we get older, people move on to their adult lives and they've got more like stuff going on, like a home and down payments.
So there's less people around just to hang out with.
Yeah, there were less people around to just hang out with and do stuff with on like a daily matter. So anyway, and then there was like this bar that I always used to go to, and it closed down. It was like this, like it was like
this.
Bar's
closed.
Yeah, there was this awesome bar. It was a pool hall, and
it's because you didn't pay your tab.
We used to go there like 3 times a week, every week, and it closed.
All the pool halls closed for some reason.
Yeah, I know,
Most
right?
of them in Ontario.
Yeah. But I was like super depressed. I got really, really badly depressed, and like you know when like people they talk about depression, and it's like it's so hard to like jumpstart, and it's so hard to get motivated, and I couldn't get out of like a negative tailspin. You know, it was just like I would get into like bad thoughts, and then it would be like this hole of negativity. So I got super depressed, and I kind of got to this point where I was like really, really fed up with everything, and I was like, well, you know, before I go and do anything rash or, you know, give up on my life or whatever, I should make like a last hurrah to really like go and do something that I want to do. And so that's when I was like, well, Whistler or bust kind of thing, you know, like what's Eminem saying? Get rich or die trying. It was like move to Whistler or die trying.
50 Cent, yeah.
Yeah, 50 Cent. Sorry everybody. I don't know my Eminem rap music, but
dude, that's a great story, man.
Yeah, so when I moved out here, everybody was like super positive, and everybody out here, like I said, when you come out here, everybody's sort of on the same train of thought. Everybody's on the same track. They're like, oh, you moved here because you love the outdoors, you love snowboarding, you know, you love the winter, you love snow. And so like it's so easy to just get on, you know, a positive train of thought, and it totally turned around for me. I went from being in a really, really like dark place where I was, you know, not really able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and then when I got here it was like, oh man, everything's fine and my life is awesome, and now I feel like I'm far more fulfilled with my day-to-day like time. Like before, I was saying, right, like the time always felt like, oh, am I best utilizing my time? I'm wasting my life. Versus when I started living here, like every day is sort of lived like to its full potential. And there's never any point now where I'm like, oh man, I wasted my day. Every day is sort of like, oh, I went snowboarding today. Yeah. And then I like went to work and helped people get on the mountain, and like everything is good, right?
Yeah. I think when you get here too and you're like up on the mountain, it kind of puts things into perspective.
Totally.
Because sometimes when you're in like your small town or your hometown or a city, you can kind of get bogged in with like ideas that are coming at you from outside, telling you you got to do this or you got to do that. Like, why don't you have this like nice car? Why don't you have this 9-to-5 job or whatever? And then when you get up on the mountain, you kind of like, it puts into perspective of like, okay, maybe those things aren't like a top priority, and there's other things like.
You realize what's most important. You don't need that fancy car or that watch or that suit. Really, you just want to go snowboarding all the time.
Pawn all of it, spend it on heli rides.
Yeah. I remember one of my mottos was sort of like, oh man, you know, I want to get rich so that I can go snowboarding whenever I want, and I can, you know, be rich, and then I'll get to enjoy snowboarding. Yeah. And then I sort of thought about it, and I'm like, no, I just need to like integrate snowboarding directly into my life so I can go snowboarding like now while I'm young, and not later while, you know, I'm old and decrepit. Like, what's the point in working until I'm 55 and then going to enjoy snowboarding when I'm old and my knees are broken? And yeah.
Absolutely.
Not that you can't enjoy snowboarding at 55. You could enjoy snowboarding at 95.
Yeah.
But you might prefer croquet. But at this age, very few people prefer croquet at 30.
The way that the STEM technology and everything is going, like, you're gonna be able to grow new knees like in 30 years, man.
I hope so.
Good.
Honestly, that transition bit where you have 3 knees temporarily before they remove the bad one.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
Oh, dude, there's so many options.
Yeah.
And Andreas and TJ, you guys are a good contrast too, because I feel like you guys get maybe something different out of the mountains too. Like Andreas, I know you love the trees and powder, and TJ, you're like at home in the terrain park?
I do, yeah. It's been like I said, that's just kind of what was around in North Carolina. So that's what actually brought me out to Colorado originally, was the couple of trips out there, just being able to actually ride like a real mountain and, ride till your legs get tired in one run, like that type of stuff. Get in the trees. Like, there's no trees in North Carolina.
Yeah.
So definitely hugely park influenced, and it's fun to take that to natural terrain, and then, when it's available, and then the park's always available. So it's cool to have that, like,
the park's definitely a great fallback, right? Like, if it's not a powder day and the trees are iced over,
exactly,
it's great to spend some time there.
Yeah.
But no, man, I'm the opposite of you. I love the trees. I love, like, just free riding. I grew up in a skier family, and they were like, here's a Custom X to keep up kind of thing. So it was like the first year the Custom X came out. Wow. And it came up to like my eyebrows, and it was sort of like, you want to go fast, here you go kind of thing. Like, you're gonna keep up with my dad, because he was like a really fast skier. So I was like, cool, like, let's do this. And I was a phenomenally like fast snowboarder, almost like a hard boarder. I could carve, and
it's a good board to keep up.
Yeah, especially. So I was like sort of a really, really good kind of border cross carving kind of guy, not really doing any major like tricks or anything like that. And then when I moved out here, it was all about trying to learn how to ride powder, because I'd never really learned how to ride powder. I remember one of the first like times I went out with my friends on the hill from work, they were like, oh, follow us this way. And I get myself into powder and tried carving on powder, and just totally like exploded and fell over. And they were like, what are you doing? We thought you knew how to snowboard. And I was like, I do. I got to figure this out.
It's still like a great time though. Like, even when you're terrible at riding powder, it's still amazing.
Yeah. So like, because of that, because I absolutely was terrible at riding powder, I made it like my business to learn how to ride powder and trees and big stuff like that. And I love the challenge of that tighter technical terrain.
Yeah. Do you guys remember what your first boards were?
Yeah.
Like, I think my first board, it was like I think the brand was called like 50/50 or something like that. And I bought it at National Sports. Do you guys
it was like
those?
A Sport Check kind of brand.
It was like a Sport Check board, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like, up to my nose, like extremely stiff. I think it was a wide board too, and I only have size 10 feet. So it was like kind of like a carver race board.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what boards were.
That was how it was back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true too, yeah.
Boards were twice as heavy.
Yeah.
I remember you go up on an average day and you'd see like a few hardboarders, maybe what's that, mono skier?
Yeah,
the wide ski. Like, you'd see some funny stuff, but now, like, maybe you see a couple telemarkers. That's about it.
Oh man, so I have so much respect for the tele skiers.
Oh yeah, man.
That's crazy.
They're like full on lunging.
Yeah.
It's like a dance, man.
It looks awesome.
It's an art form.
I bet they could lunge for like hours off the hill.
Yeah, like I bet they could just lunge down the valley stroll.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's their practice. They just go lunge for an hour.
Honestly.
That's awesome.
Chris, do you remember your first board?
Yeah, well, I was growing up on rentals because I was only doing like 7 days a year until I came out here for my first season, and then I got the Option Supercharger.
Oh, Option.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I remember that brand.
It was a real like plower kind of big mountain 164
mm-hmm.
powder board.
Nice.
Yeah, and that was fast and kind of the same stuff Andreas is talking about riding, just like big stuff, barely take it in the park, maybe some jumps, but like rails and boxes, wasn't really into that at the time.
Yeah.
More playing Keep It Up.
Dude, that's
always.
Cool. Yeah. My first board was an Option as well.
Nice.
It was I was 12 and it was a 149. It was I think it was called the Signature 149. That's the only thing I remember about it. I still have it in North Carolina. But
wow.
Yeah, I remember it was cambered, it was stiff.
You've had to get bronzed now. like your shoes.
I should.
They were pretty dope boards back in the day.
Yeah.
My first was a Rosignol board. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a straight up Rosignol board with like blue and red and the Rosignol rooster logo on it. Yeah.
Sick. You still have it?
No. My uncle owned a still does own a ski and snowboard shop in Barrie, and so like I would just swap out all my gear all the time. Like I would just be like, okay, well I grew out of this one, get me the next one, kind of thing.
Right.
I had a K2. I think I had a K2 Bullet or something. I had a couple of Burton boards along the way. I've had so many boards though now.
Yeah.
How many boards you got, Kevin?
I think I have 12 boards.
What are you gonna ride as your rock board this season?
No rock board, going straight into it.
But like opening day, don't you want to, have something that you can go through the bush with?
It's gonna be my new board.
Oh my goodness! Let's hope you don't put any major core shots in it, man.
That's all right.
Last season was like perfect opening day conditions though, because it was that real heavy snow for like a week or two. Yeah. So I remember we were going out and hitting like drops and all the trees and
opening day we opened to a powder day.
Yeah,
sick.
A week early opening day.
Yeah,
that was insane. Yeah.
So knock on wood. It's the same.
I hope it is. The last 2 years, Whistler's gotten powder opening days.
Yeah.
So let's hope for the 3
Fingers crossed, boys.
I just remember just seeing your videos is the only reason I know that.
Yep. It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I remember last year, Jamie bought like a 1996 Burton Custom that he found at the Reuse It Center. And that was his rock board.
Wow.
And it was just like this awesome classic Burton board with like a turtle and an island on it.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was so dope. Yeah, I thought it was so cool.
Nice.
It's just like, man, that's like the way to do it too, because you're not worried about, I think you got it for like $16 or something. You're not worried about breaking it. You're not worried about like running it right over a rock.
Yep.
I always tell people, you got to get a rock board for opening day, just in case.
Could be good.
I exploded one of my new boards one year on a rock on 7th Heaven. It was like one of the first days the 7th Heaven opened, and I went ripping across like one of the open fields at the top there, going the right-hand side, and just exploded over this rock. I flew like 12 feet and looked down, and my board was just like cranked apart kind of thing.
Oh man, that hurts.
That's a notorious minefield area.
Yeah, I know, right? What was I thinking? But that's why from now on I'm like, oh, you gotta have your rock board out. I learned my lesson. It was a nice board too.
Yeah, I feel like in Whistler you can explode your board all year long. Like
there could always be a trap.
The second trip you came last year, I think it was like in February. We went through 7th, and we ran through some rocks.
We did.
Tore a board up.
Yeah, there was still some exposed rocks for sure. They were fun for like dropping off of, but if you weren't careful, you could definitely.
I think with alpine riding, you just kind of gotta not know where the rocks are, but be a little bit.
Prepare yourself for them. Yeah, for certain areas.
Calculated guesswork.
You look at it and you're like, I'm gonna lean back a little extra hard there.
Yeah.
It's like what Doug busted that demo board that was like pretty well in the season that year.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was like 2
years ago.
That was in like March or something, and he had just he had tomahawked over the board, like kind of cartwheeled.
I think he cartwheeled, and then one of the cartwheels he
hit a rock.
Slammed down.
It or just like four shot it? Do you remember?
He just took it to tail. Basically, he just dented the tail of the board.
Okay.
So the swallow took a little poke on the back.
I think I remember that actually, or hearing about it.
It's a sick board though.
Yeah. One of my first boards actually I bought in Whistler was here in Comore. I bought the Atomic Alibi.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
Atomic
used to make snowboards.
They did.
Crazy.
They don't make snowboards anymore?
I don't think so. Maybe just in Europe.
Right.
Like, because Solomon and Atomic are like the same sort of like parent brand, I think. So there's Solomon snowboards now, but there aren't like Atomic snowboards, but it's still coming from maybe part of the same brand. So
we'll bring both the skis over though, but not the boards.
Yeah. From what I remember of that Atomic, it was very stiff, and I think it started to like the base started to peel out in one spot, and so I brought it back and they just swapped it out for me.
I think there was like an Alibi split board back in the day too. I think
I
used to sell one of those at Corbett's when I worked there. Yeah.
How good do you feel if you say like this product was terrible, and they go, "Oh, here's the same one but new again," and then you go, "Oh, thanks. See you in a couple months."
I guess it kind of depends.
It depends, man. Sometimes it's a one-off, right?
Yeah, it can be a one-off.
Working at a shop, we see all kinds of crazy warranty claims come in, right? It's I was just riding along is one of the terms, right? I was just riding along, and it's like, dude, your board is folded in half. Like, what do you mean you were riding along? You fell off of like a 2-story like drop, dude. Yeah. So
what's one of the more like obscure, weird things that they said?
Oh man, well, Jamie has all the horror stories. He used to be the warranty guy, but like it's always just I was just riding along. And the worst ones are when people like willingly admit to you that they hit a rock and they think that it's, not their fault, it's the hill's fault, or you know.
It is the hill's fault.
Or
you need to sue the mountain.
Yeah, or it's like the shop's fault, and they'll be like, oh, well, you know, I'm demanding that I get a new one because my base is destroyed. And we're like, well, you rode over that rock, and it probably wasn't on a groomed run, and you were probably trying to do something that you weren't capable of doing or whatever. But yeah, I do get it, because, you know, there are some cases where people were just riding along and something does go wrong. But
yeah,
it's a hard case, because one of the things I tell people is most of the product that's, you know, out there in the world of snowboarding, don't get me wrong, a lot of it's really, really good, but so much of it is designed for that person that is the weekend warrior, the person that's going maybe 25 times a season kind of thing, and then, you know, they're going to get another board in 5 years, because really the board's designed for the...
Yeah, that's my philosophy with boots too. It's like they're going to last maybe 6 months.
Yeah, like I got 100 days out of a boot.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's a good boot right there, yeah. And but yeah, I feel like I bought a pair of boots in May or April, and it's definitely time for a new pair. So
yeah,
every 6 months.
Yeah,
I've still got mine from last year.
Yeah, waiting for mine to explode too. But
they've been sitting around for a while collecting dust.
Well,
so.
Speaking of Chris, tell us about the knee and how everything is going.
So it was like early December when I did it.
Yeah.
So it's been like 11 to a good 10 and a half months or so, 11 months.
Yep.
I mean, it's hard to describe because like each injury is unique in its own ways, and so obviously they don't have like a standard. This is how fast it's going to heal.
So the doctor didn't tell you like, oh, it's going to be 5 months or 6 months.
I think they said 6 months to a year.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess it depends what you mean by like recovering, because like at the moment I haven't actually done it because I was gonna, but it was raining. But skateboard, but I do lots of like hiking and running, and I've sprinted after the bus when I've been madly inebriated.
Yeah.
I thought I was gonna miss it, and so yeah, it's been holding up for that stuff more or less. A couple little kind of reminders that it's hurt, and then I'm seeing my physio to do the return. We'll leave that in. The return to sport test, which I guess is like a kind of standard where everybody has an idea of like where you're at. So instead of the ortho talking to the personal trainer talking to the physio, they know like between them, if you do that test, that's kind of the level you're at.
Okay.
I think I'm around there.
Are you gonna wear like a type of brace for opening day, or?
Yeah. Gotta protect the pearly whites.
No, man, you know what I mean.
I'll have
like
to
one
wear
of those.
something.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not like something super bulky, but like one of those.
Maybe.
Neoprene things.
Your $2,700 brace.
$2,400, Kevin. That's a bargain.
I'm gonna go full bionic.
I gotta wear something. Yeah. I mean, there's too much riding on it, and I can't hurt it.
Because you also want to like ease your way back in, right? So start with the brace for a few days, taking it easy. For like at least a month. A few weeks.
Yeah. There's always that person opening day that breaks a leg or a bone or something, and you're just like, holy crap! Knock on wood, I don't want that to be me. So I always tell people like opening day, like regardless of what your skill set is, just take her nice and slow. You know, you don't want to be that guy that everybody's like, oh, and your season is ruined day one.
Or re-tears a ligament in the first week or two.
Yeah.
Let's avoid that. For sure. Well, I'm sure like even you're doing a bunch of rehab obviously and like physical therapy and stuff, but even with all that, I'm sure once you get on the board, you're going to be using muscles that you weren't able to strengthen.
And the thing is, like, you got to think that one moment in your entire day when you're the most stretched, that's like what you have to train for.
Right.
It's like going to be that one time when you really like you're off balance and you hit it like a bump under the snow or something.
Yeah, not when you're just in normal position.
Yeah,
that's true.
So that's what I got to be ready for, because that's when I would injure myself.
So you know when they say. You know when they say like when you have an injury, like the rest of your body compensates for the injury? Did you find that like your other leg got stronger, or did you find that like your hips changed, or?
Yeah, definitely some stuff happened. I mean, they measured the muscle and then it got smaller on this side. I was wearing the brace for like 24/7 for months, and so naturally you're gonna have a bit of atrophy. My brain got a lot bigger. Everything else got like fatter.
Yeah, man, I've had like injuries before on one leg, and then like the other leg months later starts hurting because it was compensating for the leg that was hurt. And so then you have like both legs injured because one was compensating for the other one.
And then what do you do?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy too is when you heal something and then once it's like fully recovered, you then start to feel like a pain somewhere else. It's almost like, oh, that's better. Now think about this.
Yeah.
Right.
There's always something to make better.
But I think the theme for this year is definitely going to be like priority number 1, stay healthy.
Yeah.
Because there's always like those little nagging things that can like bother you in snowboarding and kind of take away from the day or like prevent you from trying a trick or trying like a run or something. And if you can stay like 100% or like as close to it as possible.
Yeah.
And it's cumulative too. You have all these little injuries that can affect other things. Like you might hurt yourself somewhere else because you're thinking about an ankle or shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm on a pretty like steady diet of different like vitamins in the morning these days. I always tell people like when you're living in Whistler, it's almost like being at an airport all the time because there's all these different people coming from all these different countries, and they're bringing their common cold or flu or whatever, and so you're meeting these people, and
especially for you working in a shop.
working in a shop, shaking hands with a lot of people, right? And touching feet, exactly. So every morning I like super dose up on vitamin C, vitamin D, echinacea. I take these things called like key pills that have shiitake mushrooms in them. I take like a men's health pill for calcium and that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
That way you're just like covering all your,
got all the bases covered.
all the bases, right? And that way.
Do you have weird colored urine afterwards?
Yeah, you're like really yellow, like really saturated. Yeah.
Have you ever tried a 12 banana smoothie?
No.
So you feel like you're freaking Superman.
Vitamin B overload.
Get all your potassium in one shot.
Man.
TJ, you're pretty immune though to injury, even though you do get like little aches and pains. I feel like I've seen you fall like crazy, but you just get back up.
You're light.
Yeah, I hope that continues. But I appreciate that, man. I feel like
You just jinxed
lucky.
him.
I know, I did.
It's
I
not
just
the-
jinxed it.
It's not the first time.
I want
you
some
said
of
that.
TJ's bone marrow. Can I have a bit?
Yeah.
Give me some of your bone marrow.
I feel like there's always something like minorly wrong, and I feel like you guys all feel that too. Like if you're snowboarding 5 days, 7 days a week, like you're sore. There's always something that's hurt a little bit, but as long as it doesn't get to the point where it's actually like affecting you or like keeping you from being able to do what you want to do.
I like to take at least 2 days off in the week just to like rehab the rest of my body because I'm so sore from riding 5 days straight kind of thing.
Oh, down days are critical.
Yeah,
for sure.
just to let my back sort of heal back up and my knee.
Yeah.
If you could think of like the one best thing for recovery, it'd be like a mud bath or like a cucumber facial.
Lots of stretching, man. Stretching and sleeping. That's my big one.
Nice.
It's so important to get that, like,
hydrating.
Yeah, hydrating for sure. But yeah, I love getting that full, 8-hour, 10-hour sleep on a day off, and that way, like, everything is sort of reset and you feel better after.
For sure.
I feel like when we do like a pre and post snowboard stretch, that's like a good way of keeping everything like loose and getting set up. It's almost like when I've gone into snowboarding cold with like no warm up, no morning stretch. So when something gets twisted or tweaked or
you don't feel right on the hill. You always feel better after a stretch. For
absolutely.
Sure.
I find I don't feel better on the hill until like my first hour's through anyway. It's like after that first hour, all your foot pain starts to slowly dissipate. Your back pain, everything is sort of like more evened out. You're looser, more elasticy.
Your whole back hurts evenly.
Warmed up.
You just stop feeling the pain because you're so excited about the snow.
You reach
adrenaline has kicked in.
Your saturation point for pain. It's not getting any worse from here. Let's just enjoy it.
Yeah. Have that morning coffee on the Gondi.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. On the gondola, coffee.
Oh dude, I love having a nice gondola morning breakfast. You stop off at what's it called, Mount Curry Coffee Company, and get yourself one of those little like.
The paninis?
No, they're like these little like egg sandwiches thing. They call them like tree huggers or or I don't know what they call them, but they're like these little like.
Since when are eggs hugging trees?
I don't know, man. There's two of them. I can't remember what the other one's called, but they're really good, and you put them in your pocket, or and then you
breakfast
eat that.
to go.
Dude, party sandwich.
And then, like, especially with the coffee, I like having the talking prop, because now you're talking to people in the gondola and you have your talking prop. Like,
and everyone's jealous of your coffee.
Oh, yeah. And everyone's like, why didn't I do
it's all
this?
cold,
and they're like, obviously coffee. You're a local. You've got this dialed. And I'm like, yeah, well, obviously.
I got a pocket.
Everyone's looking at you or your coffee.
Sandwich in my pocket.
Nothing like a really jammed gondola ride where it's, like, super awkward and everybody's just like, hey... I'm sweaty. I'm really uncomfortably close to you.
You're eating a tuna fish sandwich.
Yeah. I'm
sorry, guys.
Eating my Caesar salad with a lot of garlic. Yo, are you guys smelling this?
Try not to breathe your way.
Yeah.
Like 3 summers ago, riding with you and Garrett, you guys either had a tuna sandwich or a meatball sub for breakfast.
The meatball sub. Garrett literally had a meatball sub for breakfast every day.
Yeah, he's a man of routine.
It was a record.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Your routine is a meatball sub for breakfast? It's not like a normal routine.
Keeps you regular, I bet.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
But that was like the first summer that I was on the 12 banana smoothies. And I can remember, I don't know about you, but Garrett was definitely falling asleep about halfway through the day because those meatballs just made their way.
Just heavy, super heavy.
There's one sitting at the top of each lung, just blocking it.
Yeah.
Mamma mia.
Definitely had some meatball subs that year.
Is that it? Subway meatball sub?
Yeah.
Breakfast?
Yeah. I my thing, like, even right now, for some reason, every time I come to Whistler, I start eating yogurt and granola for breakfast, and I literally never do that anywhere else.
It's a good way to go, man. And there's
there's
some premium granola that you can get up here too at Nestor's.
It's affordable, yeah. It's good. Like
some granola
some of it's
atrocious.
Really
you get that quick oats, $3 for a bag.
You got to watch how much sugar is in the granola because there's a lot of sugar in granola, especially the higher end ones. But
it's like $5 for like a big bag. I get the cranberry one.
Nice.
It's really good.
Throwing some raspberries or some blueberries into that.
I should get some fresh fruit, man.
It's really good.
Or some pills.
And 12 bananas.
Or some pills. Here's my pills.
Yeah.
Vitamins.
And you guys are both from Germany too. Andres, are your ancestors German?
My background is German, yes.
Wow.
So
do you have any advice for our upcoming Germany trip? We're going to be in the vicinity.
Well, I know that Germans are very straightforward, efficient, effective people. So, you're going to want to get rid of all of your, slang and attitude because, Kevin's got a lot of attitude and you're going to want to keep it concise and to the point because you don't want to waste people's times. They're very effective and efficient over there. To tell you the truth, though, dude, it was my grandparents that came over from Germany. I don't know anything about Germany. I've never actually even been to Germany. The one thing I do know about Germany is my grandmother always used to tell me about Knecht Ruprecht, who is the evil German Santa Claus. Because in Germany, it's not good enough to just, have positive reinforcement where you tell kids you're going to get presents if you're good. You also need to have, like, negative reinforcement where it's like, Knecht Ruprecht will come if you're bad, and he'll put you in a sack, and he'll beat you with chains.
And then you got the Krampus, too.
Yeah, and that's where Krampus came from, is Knecht Ruprecht, is these, like, ancient...
and it's not... About Krampus? Krampus?
Yeah, Krampus.
Knecht Ruprecht, bro.
It's funny. Yeah,
Did your grandma tell you about it?
She I don't understand the connection, but we had like a rock like statue thing that it wasn't like a statue, more like a rock stack.
A
and she called it Krampus.
Wow.
And that was the first time I heard it, and then like I started hearing all the Christmas analogies with it too. And it was to like protect the property. That was like the idea behind it. Yeah.
So there's lots of facets to this Krampus.
But like, hey, if you're German out there, and you haven't heard of Knecht Ruprecht, like, I think it was something from like small town Germany back in the 40s. It may not be a thing anymore.
Sounds like an award-winning board game.
Yeah, I just like.
Hey, you want to play Knecht Ruprecht?
So in Germany they have Mensch ärger dich nicht. Mensch ärger dich nicht. It's like Parcheesi, but it's in German, and it's really Mensch ärger dich nicht. I don't know. I used to play it as a kid at my grandparents' house.
Nice.
Wow.
Mensch is a good word. Man, I think you look way more German than I do, just based based on the hair color.
Yeah,
and the eye
man.
color.
Well, I
German
guess so,
stereotypes.
but I've had some people come into the store and tell me that like I'm the most Canadian sounding person that they've ever met, you know. And sometimes I've, I guess say a boot or a or no doot. No doot to boot.
No doot.
No doubt, bro.
Have you heard
So
that
for
new
a rip.
speeder ribs?
You just know how to pronounce your words. That's all.
Sorry. Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
All right, let's do this again next week. Here in
Yeah.
Kenmore.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for
Every week.
inviting.
Andreas, will you have us back?
Yeah, man. Let's just chill in the Comore snowboard department.
Yeah, good stuff, guys.
Sick.
We have to find
TJ?
out which snowboards
Yeah.
fit through the mail slot so we can mail them out from the
Perfect.
inside.